Hello, I'm Richard Vobes, the Bald Explorer, and I'm out on another investigation. You may remember a couple of weeks or so ago I went to Pluckley, to the Kent and Sussex Tea and Coffee Company. Yes, and we tasted tea with the lovely Richard Smith. Well, he invited me back to try coffee. So I've been strolling down the country lanes looking for the wonderful coffee guru himself. And actually, he's just down here. Let's go in and sample some coffees. Come on. Here we go. Hello, Richard.
Hello, Richard. Nice to see you again.
Lovely to see you.
Thank you.
It's not at all contrived, is it?
What brings you this way?
You invited me to try some of your lovely coffee.
Right. Fantastic.
And I see you've got a table already set.
A few beans out and...
well, let's have a sit down and have a chat. Oh, well, it's lovely to see you again, Richard. So, yeah, no, tell me, I'd love to know, and I'm sure my viewers would love to know, that you know, we tried the tea and we understand your story about the tea, but how did you get into coffee and start to then, you know, sell it?
Right, well, back in, not long after we started in the 80s, counting tea bags at home and all that, coffee seemed to be the natural fit. If you're starting a little business, you know, people drink tea and then they ask for coffee, so coffee came along and we started by finding some small coffee roasting machines, gas machines, and we set them up here and started production. A bit of a learning curve to start with the but each one did 2 to 5 kilo roast, so we were, you know, constantly roasting and pumping smoke out through the site. In those days, everyone loved the smell of coffee smoke, and so all went well for a time. And then after some years, we had some serious fires, and
is that a normal thing?
I think every coffee roaster has his moments when fires occur, either internally. With the old gas fires, they were open to the elements of fire and smoke, and you know. And I was training coffee roasters to help out, and one in particular, he just decided that smoke and fire, and he just ran. He didn't stop to tell me. I was just sitting in the office, and this waft of smoke came through, and I had to do the usual crawl under the smoke and extinguish. But
you no longer now roast on the premises?
We don't, because we've separated the coffee roasting from the tea, because tea is hygroscopic and it can pick up taints, and the coffee smell is quite a powerful smell, so that can taint the tea. So I have a friend of mine who has a 1.8 million pound coffee roaster, and when we do our production on his machine now. We have a daily roasting cycle, and everything is logged and monitored on that, you know, that's a huge plant.
Well, I noticed that you've got on the table here some lovely looking coffee beans which have been roasted, and we're going to, and I'm very excited about this, thank you very much, we're going to be sampling some of this, which I'm looking forward to. Can you just tell us what they are?
Right, there's a whole spectrum of roasts. I mean, we have about 65 original and coffee blends. At one end you have the dark roasts, which are the likes of the Italian roast and continental roast, which are the roasted to the high before, so they don't burn. So it's a high, the beans become dark and oily. And then my favourite of the moment, which is an Ethiopian original mocha coffee. That is a very smooth, soft daytime with some interesting characteristics. And then this week we're highlighting one of our flavoured coffees, and that's a hazelnut coffee. And of course we have our coffee beans covered in chocolate. That's for whilst we're sipping the coffee, we can have a little chocolate crunch in between.
Well, Richard, we have
poured
the coffee.
Now the first beast.
Yes.
This is the Ethiopian mocha, which
it looks very nice. I'm just going to shunt it over there.
Right, out of harm's way.
Out of harm's way. And thank you very much. Now, is there a way of tasting coffee? I know that you showed us.
Well, similar to tea, you would if you're coffee tasting, you would into your mouth and taste, and then you would spit into a receptacle, a brass spittoon or a flowing water basin. Caffeine you can't taste and drink, or caffeine, like you can't drink red wine all day.
Well, I suppose I better have a taste, hadn't I, Richard?
Absolutely.
So, here we go. My first taste of the mocha coffee. Well, I've got that coffee smell. I'm not quite sure what that is.
That should be lovely and smooth, and the characteristic famously known for Ethiopian mochas is gamey in flavour.
Oh, gamey.
As in a sort of a rather ripe pheasant that's been hanging.
A ripe pheasant. Well, it is yes, it's a distinct flavour. I'll put it that way. So we have here, this is the Italian.
This is the Italian roast. This is the second darkest of our roasts, just under the Continental. The Continental is the Marmite of tea and coffee. People
Right.
love it or hate it. And the Italian is my favourite dark of the dark roasts.
Well, it certainly looks.
It's a good thick
colour and
dark
thick
brew.
looking thing with a nice brown sort of froth on the top.
A bit of froth.
Does smell nice.
And then you have to give it the old.
Give it the old. So we're trying that.
Used to get the Huey dark roast.
Okay.
Oh yes, there's a fine flavour there.
Very
Isn't it?
different to the mocha. Very
Yeah.
different to the mocha. That's really quite sharp on the end of the tongue.
Yeah.
Now it's interesting because before we were filming, you were telling me that you were explaining to me about blends and the importance of blending, and how if you have a single, what did you call it, a single source or a
Single origin country, it's a coffee from Ethiopia or Colombia or Kenya, from single origin, you get the characteristics of the one country. It's quite one-dimensional in taste.
Yes.
And blends give you a more all-round flavour and profile.
And if you're doing that on a manufactured scale, obviously you were telling me that the single origins can change from season to season.
Yes, from season to season and from area to area within any one country.
Right.
Within Ethiopia, there's several districts within Ethiopia, and there'll be different characteristics of the coffees from each of those zones.
For the last one, we thought we'd step outside because often coffee is enjoyed outside in the open air, isn't it,
Outdoor
Richard?
coffee drinking is something to be encouraged.
Encouraged. So, Richard, we poured out another glass of this superb coffee of yours. Which particular one is this?
This one, to finish off our tastings, we've gone for a hazelnut flavoured coffee to add a little sweet and chocolatey note to the palate.
And flavoured coffees is quite a relatively modern thing, isn't it?
Yes, flavouring. This is flavoured with oil.
Yeah.
And we have vanilla, hazelnut, chocolate mocha. So there's quite a sort of an exotic collection of flavoured coffees, and they're growing in popularity.
Well, let's give it a whirl then, shall we?
Far away.
I'm just going to balance it precariously on my kneecap like this, and yes, you can certainly immediately get the aroma of the hazelnut, which is very nice. And I think one of the other things that one should say is that the aroma is very much part of the tasting, isn't it?
Yes, with coffee, it's a real sensual thing. That's why they say when you sell a house, put a fresh pot of coffee on, and the buyers will walk in the door and think, well.
Well, there we are. There's a good tip for you. Let's try this and see what it's like. Just as a van goes past and pollutes the aroma with carbon monoxide, we just managed to get in. And this is very nice also.
Yes, it's a nice hazelnutty
Yes, it's very delicious, and I think, you know, some people don't fully experience the coffee flavour because they're putting in milks or they're going for lattes and all of that.
Yes, cutting to the real flavour, drinking coffee black, especially if it's a single origin coffee or a flavoured coffee, you do get the real essence of it. Once you start adding milk and sugars, then, you know, that gives you a different taste profile.
What's your opinion, and I'm going to ask probably a terrible question here, about instant coffees?
Sorry?
Are there any instant coffee that is, in your mind, anywhere close or palatable?
Instant coffees are pretty much a generic product, and they're all pretty much the same. The different brands add a little bit of spray as it's being packed in the jars, being sealed. They put a bit of special spray to make the taste a bit different. But,
right. But it's not real coffee.
It's not good.
No. So there we are. So drink some of this, and of course we should point out that the Kent and Sussex Tea and Coffee Company have a website and a ghost.
And that's one of the Pluckley spirits in the background.
Behind us, opening the door. And, you know, should anybody want to make further inquiries, you're always up for that. But this has been absolutely fantastic, Richard.
And to see you again, Richard. Well done.
Thank you very much.
All this way.
The ghost has had enough, as indeed I have.
Cheerio.
So until next time, don't forget to follow, like and subscribe, become a patron, support what I do so I can go and buy plenty of coffee and tea. But thank you to Richard. The helicopter has come to pick me up. Until next time, thank you and goodbye. Cheers. Cheers. Thank you, Richard.
Chin chin.